Welcome everyone to this webinar about the Master Aquaculture and Marine Resource Management. My name is Vera van Berlo. I'm the study advisor for the program, and the next hour I will tell you all about the program itself. But before we do that, actually I have a question for you guys, because we have a little poll. I'm quite curious who are the people that are watching at the moment, and specifically about your scientific background. So if you can fill out the poll, I'll just explain you the question a little bit first. What is your scientific background? Is it general biology? Is it marine biology? Is it ecology? Is it more related to fisheries or aquaculture? Do you do something with environmental sciences, governance or policy, or maybe economics, or maybe something else that could also be a possibility? So if you could fill out the poll, that would be nice, and we get back to that in a minute. But before we do so, I'm actually not doing this alone, because I also have a current student of our program joining us. Can you tell a bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you, Vera, for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Fariz Kukuh Harwinda. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm now second year student studying aquaculture and marine resources management in Wageningen University Research. And now the study that I'm focusing on is nutrition and health in aquaculture. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see the poll. I see a lot of different backgrounds. Let me check. Yeah, I see people that do marine biology, ecology, quite a few fisheries and aquaculture, also governance and policy related studies and economics. And that's kind of nice because it also shows that the interest of the upcoming students is quite broad, but also relates to the quite broad and interdisciplinary approach of this master program. Let me first tell you a bit about the program, and we'll just go through it in the next hour. So I'd like to start out actually with a piece of research that we do at Wageningen, because I think it really nicely also relates to our master program, and it also explains to you the interdisciplinarity. It's research done by Lisa Becking. She's one of our researchers. She's involved in the science group Marine Animal Ecology and also Wageningen Marine Research. And she does a lot of research about corals. And as you might know, corals are not doing great at the moment. There's a lot of change going on, climate issues which relate to warming waters, and it also impacts the corals because they start to bleach. It's a bad sign. However, not all the corals are doing bad. Actually, the part that Lisa is researching is a part in West Papua. And over there, the corals are doing a pretty great job, whereas still the waters are warming. So it's interesting to see why that is the case. And maybe that helps to conquer resilience in other parts of coral reefs all over the world. So what she does a lot of research into the biology, into the ecology, into the biodiversity of the system. Also, all the abiotic factors are taken into account. So she looks at what happens in the water. But besides that, she also looks at what happens above the water, what happens in the social, the societal thing. You have to make sure that you also know the policy that is involved regarding this water. How are these waters being managed? What is the impact of tourism? And so it's interesting to notice that you have to be able to look into the water itself, but also outside it. And it's also her quote, "We shan't just look underwater, but also outside it." It relates also to the focus of our master program, which I will explain to you right now. Why can you study aquaculture and marine resource management in Wageningen University? Well, this study is all about the sustainable use, conservation, and also the restoration of aquatic systems and resources. We are talking about oceans, we talk about rivers, we talk about estuaries, we talk about lakes, and that is because they all play a major role in feeding the world. But besides that, they also provide numerous other goods. And we want to ensure that this sustainable use can keep on taking place in the future. And we think, in order to achieve that, you need some sort of interdisciplinary approach. It's up to you what you will be doing exactly in your studies, because you can make your own study path. You can make a tailor-made program in which you focus on a thing that you find most important and most interesting. Well, wij study in Wageningen. Yeah, I'm going to brag a bit about that. I'm sorry about that, guys, but we're doing quite a good job. If you look at the rankings worldwide, we are ranked 95th position of the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. It's also the best ranking for any other Dutch university. So when it comes to the quality of our education, we're doing a really good job. What I personally like a lot is that Wageningen University is very international. So if you walk around here on campus, there's a lot of different nationalities. I think we have about 110 or 112 different nationalities when it comes to the students at Wageningen University. So that's quite a lot. And it's very interesting, inspiring to be joined by so many cultural backgrounds. What I also like a lot is the contact between the staff of the university and the students, because it's quite personal. You can just talk to your professor and use his first name. And it gives a very friendly atmosphere in which you can learn from both sides. So you can learn from your professor, but the other way around as well, because you have a unique view. I'm kind of curious, Kukuh, are there already some questions from the chat?
Okay, let me see. There are one question. The first question is from Imran Nur, if I'm not mistaken how to pronounce it. It's, what is the minimum cumulative GPA, IELTS, and research background requirements for MSc program in aquaculture and marine resources management?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think it's a very relevant question as well. We get back to that all the way in the end of the presentation, but I'll tell you, I'll explain it to you in the end of the presentation, so I'll get back to that. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
And then maybe you can explain it more about what kind of courses are there, and also is there any field work in this course, in this master program?
Yeah, thanks. That's a very fair question as well. Actually, that is what I was planning to talk about. So I can just show you also a few slides with that. Okay. Because I've given you some general information, but it's also nice if you indeed know more into detail about what courses we have in the program and what the structure of the program is like. So let's go into that. I'd like to show you this little picture. It is an explanation about the structure of the program. So you see that in your first year, you will mainly focus on taking courses. And in your second year, you will do a thesis and an internship. The whole program consists of 2 years, and in those 2 years, you will get 120 credits. We will first start out with explaining about the common courses, the courses that everyone takes, because that's something I like a lot about this program, is that, so there's a lot of, it is an interdisciplinary program. We have a lot of people flowing in from different backgrounds, but you all start out doing the same common courses. Those courses are Advanced Statistics, Life History of Aquatic Organisms, Trends in Aquaculture, and the course Marine Systems. Advanced Statistics we think is just really useful in doing research. As everyone will be doing a thesis, a research project in their second year, this really helps you to prepare well. And it also helps you to understand other scientific backgrounds better. So that's why this is one of the courses that everyone takes. All students also take the Life History of Aquatic Organisms course. And in that course, you focus on mainly animals that are relevant to either aquaculture or in the field of conservation. You will see, basically you will try to figure out why the animals are the way they are and why they behave the way they do. So it's really interesting to dive into that field. Then also, one of the other courses that everyone takes is the Trends in Aquaculture course. And in that course, you will focus on the newest developments in the field of aquaculture. So then it comes to technical developments and also like the range in which there are possibilities or not, but also how does this field relate to politics and economics. I'd like to show you a few pictures about the Marine Systems course, because it's a course that contains a lot of field work, as also was posed in the question. I'll show it to you right here. And in the marine systems course, I also explained it to you a little bit when I explained about the coral research that has been done. Also in the marine systems course, you have an approach in which you look into the marine systems from a biology point of view. So you see what kind of species are living there, how do they interrelate, how do they need each other. And so basically, how does a system work from a biology point of view? But you cannot do that without taking the societal point of view into account. So you also see what kind of people are involved in the marine systems and how do they collaborate and how can you govern a system in an effective way and how do you do that to ensure also sustainability in that sense. In this course you do tutorials, you also have role-playing games, and you also have quite a few excursions to the coast of the Netherlands, so that's nice. So everyone does the same few courses in the beginning. What I like about it a lot is that it's also a nice opportunity to get to know each other because you keep seeing the same faces in the same classes. So it's a very bonding experience in the beginning of your master program. And if you have finished that, then you can decide what you want to focus on. And most probably you also have a better understanding of what you want to focus on because you got a little bit of taste from all the different disciplines that play a part in this master program. So you can specialize by choosing a specialization, and you have 12 credits in which you do specialization courses that prepare you for doing a thesis, that prepare you for doing your internship in your second year, but also prepare you for your further career. So we have 3 different specializations, and I will explain you all about these different specializations and what they entail. I will do that right now. And let's first start out with the aquaculture specialization. In the aquaculture specialization, well, the name already says it, it is all about culturing aquatic organisms like fish and shellfish. And there's a lot of focus on gaining technical skills. You will need to know about aquaculture production systems, but you also need to take the socio-economic aspects into account. And of course, in order to keep the fish and the shellfish healthy, you want to know about nutrition that they need, about their physiology, about their genetics. So that's also things that come across in your specialization courses when you take the specialization aquaculture. There's actually even a course in which you set up your own aquaculture production system. And I always hear from my students that they really enjoy doing that. It's really difficult, it's very challenging, but also very fruitful and insightful experience. Besides that, you also have the marine resources and ecology specialization. That's a specialization that's mostly focusing on the human interventions and how they impact the seas and the other water bodies. So what, for example, is the impact of climate change? Or what is the impact of ocean acidification or windmills offshore or diving or fisheries? That is really interesting to see. How does it impact the communities that live underneath the water? So in order to figure out how that works, you need to know a bit of modeling. You need to understand how different species relate, so you can put that into models. You can do population models. You can use fishery yield models. But also, of course, you need to take into account the social aspects of regulations and management tools in order to completely understand these water systems. Well, as I said, we have 3 specializations. So last but not least, we also have the marine governance specialization. The marine governance specialization is focusing on legitimate decision-making processes in the field of marine or aquatic components. So basically, you have to figure out what actors are involved. How do they interrelate? How do they come up with decisions in a fair way? How is everything taken into account? How are opinions being weighed? And in order to do so, you need to know about public institutions. You learn about law. you will also learn about eco-certification, for example. How does it work, and do labels like MSC or ASC, how do they come up with guidelines? So that is something you can focus on when doing this specialization. Kukuh, what specialization did you do?
I'm currently doing aquaculture specialization track, and then specifically I'm going to take my research on nutrition and health.
Okay. And what is your favorite course?
My favorite course is aquaculture production system and also nutrition and health in aquaculture. Why? Because in the future, my plan is to run my own farm. So I think it's very related and it's very insightful for me, at least to design what kind of farm that I'm going to run in the future. And then, yeah, in this course, you also get this kind of calculation, chemical calculation, biological calculation, and also not only scientific calculation, but also you have to make the production system is financially viable for the business. So that's interesting for me to learn.
Yeah, so a combination of both the technical aspects that you need.
Business aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are included in this course. So it's very interesting.
Nice. Nice. What was your favorite moment in one of those courses?
It was when I was in the lab at Karus.
Mm-hmm. What is Karus?
Karus is a laboratory for animal experiment. And there is one building that's specifically designed for fish. And I was working there doing some kind of practical. Mm-hmm. So basically you grow the fish from fingerlings to until 30 days, and then you have to harvest it. And everything there, you have to measure the water, you have to calculate how many nitrogen should be removed from the system, and so on. So that was very interesting for me.
Nice, thank you. I also have a question for you guys again, because now you've learned a bit about the specializations that we have in this master, but I'm kind of curious, what do you think you would find most interesting? So if you had to choose now, of course you don't have to, but just for the poll, what specialization would you choose? Would you choose aquaculture? Would you choose marine resources and ecology? Would you choose marine governance? Or that's also possible, maybe you don't have a clue at all. So please fill out the poll and we get back to that later. I'm curious to see what your preferences are. So this was just part of the first year of your master. So you first take the common courses that everyone takes, then you take a specialization course depending on the things that you find most interesting. And then afterwards, in the final part of your first year, you also do an academic master cluster. An academic master cluster is not so much a course in which you gain a lot of knowledge, but it's more about applying the knowledge that you already have and develop important skills. So we think that you're well prepared for your future career. Basically, you have the option, you have the choice between two options. So depending on your preference, you can either choose to become an academic consultant or to focus on research. We have a course, it's called Academic Consultancy Training. And in that course, together with 5 or 6 or 7 students from different disciplines, also from different master programs, you will collaborate and be a consultancy team. So there's outside the university, there is an organization that needs your help. And you get a real-life assignment to work on for 8 weeks or so. And you will gain a lot of skills, professional skills regarding negotiating, for example, or pitching a plan, or presenting or collaborating. Skills that are very relevant, I think, in your professional career, in your professional development. Could also be that your aim is to become a researcher. And in that case, you can take a course in the academic master cluster to write a PhD proposal. So you will be guided through the whole PhD proposal process with academic staff from the university, but also from peers that will have the same aim. So you learn each other. And the interesting thing is that you gain specific skills when it comes to PhD, preparing you for a PhD position. So not only the writing, but also, of course, conveying people to provide you with funding, for example. So these are skills that come across in this academic master cluster if you want to become a researcher. So then we're going to move ahead in the future. So you finish your first year already, and you start out with your second year of the master program. Your second year is not so much about courses, but it's more about doing a thesis and an internship, or a thesis and another thesis. It really depends on if you want to become a researcher, then usually students take 2 theses. And if not, then students start out with a thesis and afterwards do an internship. But what is a thesis? I'll explain that to you first, because I think it's quite relevant in order to understand what I'm going to say next. A thesis is a research project that you do by yourself. So usually it takes about 6 months that you work on one specific topic. And you're going to conduct a whole research process. So you're going to start out writing a proposal. Then afterwards you're going to actually do the research. So mostly that means that you do field work, or that you conduct experiments in the lab, or at CARUS, our research facility. And then afterwards, you're going to look at the data, and you're going to conduct statistical analysis, and you're going to try to find out what your data mean and how they relate to the research question that you posed in the beginning. And you're going to present your research, and then you finalize your research in 6 months. So that is a thesis all about. And of course, it depends on your specialization and what you can research. And it really depends on your personal interest. I'll show a few examples that relate to our specializations to give you a better idea of what you could choose. So one example could be, for example, the SuperSeas project. And actually, we have one of our researchers, Simon Bush, who explains a bit about this project. And we have a little clip that can show to you what his research is about and what you could do a thesis in.
The sustainability of aquaculture, like most farming systems, is commonly managed at the farm scale. In the SuperSeas project, we explore how a shift beyond farms to area-based management can improve the environmental performance of the industry. We found that area-based management not only means scaling up to regions or landscapes, it also means integrating 4 key governance components. First, farmers need to cooperate at the spatial extent they share systemic environmental risks, such as disease and water quality. Second, assurance tools like eco-certification need to assess the collective management of these shared risks. Third, risk management arrangements like insurance or finance are needed that reinforce the collective management of these risks. And finally, area-level assurance can support supermarkets to increase their supply and ultimately meet consumer demand for their sustainable products.
So currently there are 3 PhDs. So currently there are 3 PhDs working on this project. One more focuses on governance, one on value chains, and one on finance and risk transfer. And what you could do, for example, as a thesis project would maybe relate to one of those PhD positions. So a PhD student works on a project for 4 years, but of course could need some help. So it could be that you are one of the students that works with a PhD in order to work on the whole PhD thesis. So usually the thesis research that you do for your studies relates to a bigger picture or bigger research line at your university. I also have an example for the marine resources and ecology. There's currently a lot of research going on in the Dutch Caribbean, and specifically there is a project about turtles at the moment. It's a project about hard-billed turtles, and they are not doing so well. They're almost extinct, and they're trying to figure out what their favorite habitat is like, and they're trying to come up with analysis in order to prevent this extinction and to see if they can help restore the situation at the moment. So that is an example of a thesis topic that you could work on or be part of when you do the specialization marine resources and ecology. Of course, I also have a thesis example for the aquaculture specialization, and it's a little clip actually by one of our other students, student Kiki, and she went abroad for her thesis research, and I have a little video in which he explains what she actually did there.
So, for my master thesis project, I went to Zambia. I was there the past half year. I was there for 4 months in total. And what I did there, I assessed whether or not lowering the dietary protein level in tilapia feed has a positive effect on primary production in the pond, which then in turn would be good again for fish growth. This was a highly relevant topic because of the pricing and sustainability issues with protein in fish feed. And honestly, when I was there, I had the most amazing time. I got to design and build the ponds that I was using. I had to feed my fish every day, measure the water quality every day, and I had a lot of people helping me, and I made a lot of good friendships with Dutch people I met there. Dutch people are everywhere, but also a lot with local Zambians. And they are the warmest, kindest people I've ever met. They were there every time I was feeling a little bit down or I was a little homesick, and they're just so kind, they're so friendly. And that is actually also one of the things that I love most about this master's. One, of course, is the international aspect, but the other is the bond that you get with all these students here. Because a lot of the courses are compulsory, it's really easy to make a good bond with people. Everyone sort of knows each other, and some of my best friends now I'm actually met through this master's. The group is so diverse with ecology, governance, and aquaculture. And that's really what makes MOMA special, like a cool study to do. You learn so much from each other.
So these were a few examples of theses that you could do. But your second year doesn't only consist out of doing a thesis, but you can also do an internship or a minor thesis. I'll explain to you what an internship is about, because an internship is a bit different from a thesis in the sense that it's a project outside university. So it doesn't necessarily relate to research, but it does relate to for a future job that you could do after graduating. So you get a bit of a taste for what that is about. I'll give you a few examples. For example, we have students that did an internship at Revolution. It's a foundation based in Kenya. And as you might know, reefs are not doing great. In this case, there's a lot of problems with overfishing. As you can imagine, if there's overfishing, that also means that less algae are being eaten by the fish. And it means also that the coral reefs are smothered. So besides that, there's also destructive fishing methods. So sometimes people use exploding devices in order to fish. And there's coral bleaching. So what this foundation does is coral reef restoration. So how they do that, they make some sort of little tiny, they call it trees. It's like tiny structures. And they plant that into the water, and they bind the little small bits of coral to it. And they hope in that sense that from this artificial reef, bigger reefs start to grow and these systems are being restored. So that is something that you could work on as being an intern over there. Another option is the Yaleo organization in Zambia. And they try to figure out how much fish they can produce without harming the water quality. So that is something that you can calculate on. That is something you can try to figure out for them. What do they need to change in their setup in order to be able to use the consumer label from ASC, for example? That could also be a very nice question to work on as being an intern. Another option, for example, would be working at the International Council for Exploration of the Sea. It's interesting that a lot of, when it comes to managing water bodies and fisheries, there's a lot of, often there's a top-down approach. So there's rules and regulations and people need to live up to that. But from the behavioral economics perspective, that doesn't always work. It's not always that is the best way of working around. So what's interesting to see if from that perspective, are there other options that work better in order to help preventing or managing systems like this. So we've been talking about the study program, so about the first year with the courses and then the thesis options and the internships. Fariz, are there questions from the chat?
Yes, there are some questions coming in.
Okay.
And then the first one is from Nestale Bartolom. The question is, my background is in veterinary medicine. Does it feed as a prerequisite to take the master degree course? Does it feed to the program now, or?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for your question. I think based on just the name of your study program, it might relate to the program, yes. I would always advise you to fill out the application procedure on the website. You can just do that without any risks or troubles. Like, you can fill it out, and if you decide later on that you don't want to do the program itself, that is fine. But based on the name of your program, it might relate to this master program. So I think there should be a chance that you are applicable, yes. Thank you.
And then there's another question coming in. It's about the PhD program. Mm-hmm. Is there any PhD programs also in the field of fisheries and aquaculture? And is there also a funding for PhD projects here?
Yeah, so in order to explain that to you, I have to explain a bit about the structure of Wageningen University, I think. Because our education is offered to us by our chair groups, and the chair groups is basically the same word, another word for it would be research group. So we have 10 research groups involved that educate us in the master program. And all those research chair groups, they have staff, and they also have PhD students doing research. So yes, from all those 10 perspectives in this case, there are PhD students doing their job. And the funding depends on the topic. So there's not always funding possible for everything. But if you have a good idea, we have the NWO, the Dutch Organization of Sciences, and they provide PhD funds. So yes, if you have a good idea, you can apply for funding via that organization.
Okay, there's another question from Imi Taskan. Is the university going to consider the previous experiences of the applicants or not?
Yes, I'm not quite sure how the question is being meant, but yes, we take into account your scientific background, we take into account your motivation, we take into account your GPA. So yes, we take into account your previous experiences, of course, because that's the most relevant information for us to see if you are applicable or not. Yes.
Okay. Should we move on or next?
Yes.
Question?
I think we can move on because I'm kind of curious to your story.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Because I think I can tell you about Wageningen, I can tell you what it's like, but I think it's way more relevant to do that from a student perspective. Okay. And that's why you're here. So can you maybe tell a bit about your experiences here?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Fariz Kukuh Harwinda. As you can see on the screen, is it showing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean the slides.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a first-year master's student in Wageningen, and I'm studying aquaculture and marine resources management. And then I'm from a little town in East Java, Indonesia. It's called Kediri. And then I was born and raised there. And then because I was raised by my mom, who is actually agriculture consultant, then she introduced me with this kind of fisheries kind of thing. She introduced me with farmers and stuff, so that I could actually understand why I chose aquaculture as my specialization now. And then next, please. Here's my background. I was studying aquaculture in Universitas Airlangga. It's in Surabaya. It's a second largest city in Indonesia. And then I'm studying aquaculture as well. And then after that, I also had a fellowship opportunity in University of Hawaii when where I have to study environmental leadership. And then after I graduate from school, I also work for several companies. So during my bachelor, I was also intern in shrimp farm in East Java as well, in Banyuwangi. Also, I was helping my teacher to did his research in aquaculture. And after I graduate bachelor, I was professionally working for a company. It's a aquaculture startup called Growpol, where I have to work as a product development officer there. So basically what I was doing is doing some assessment for fish farmer, because we provide some funding for them to run their business. But then before we give the money, then we have to assess whether they're valuable or not, whether they're capable or not in doing the farm operation. And then next, the reason why I chose aquaculture, or why I chose MAM in Wageningen, is because the first, when I did my bachelor research, I also took some references from a lot of researchers who are coming from Wageningen. And after I did a little research on the campus, it says that this is one of the best university in agriculture and environmental sciences. So that's why I apply a master here in Wageningen. And also, when I take a look at the program, when I take a look at the website, it says everything completely in detail. So everything is well guided, and so me as an applicant, I found it easy to apply and to follow only the instruction, so that I can easily apply. And next is also why MAM is okay. And what I like about the master in Wageningen, first, it's because the competitive and open class environment. So when you are in class, then everyone will ask the teacher a question. Everyone will say if they do not agree with your opinion. So everything is open, so you can actually say your mind there. And then also there's an interactive learning where the teacher and also the student can actually well connected, because you can directly ask questions when you're stuck in the middle of the class. For example, like if you don't know or you don't understand about anything that the teacher said to the student, then you can directly ask to them and clarify their statement. And then also some of the courses here are very applicable in terms of case study, and then also you can learn it and apply it in the field. For example, for me, I'm studying aquaculture production system, and then the teacher was really good in explaining like all details and what are the things that you need to prepare in order to set up your own farm and so on. And then my plans for internship and thesis is, specifically for thesis, I'm going to take nutrition and health with Johannes Garma, and then specifically about the shrimp farming. So basically, we test whether one composition of feed can actually working really well in the growth of the shrimp. And then also for my internship, I think I'm not sure yet, but I think I'm going to work for a company in the Netherlands in feed company or feed industry. Okay. So also many questions coming in, and it's about how do you usually spend your time in Wageningen. So, okay, there are a lot of activities as well. Besides partying, you can also gather with a lot of people. You can also have conversation with your friend outside class. There are some activities because I'm from Indonesia. Now I'm a part of Indonesian Student Association, or it used to be called as PPI, where I'm also working there as the president of the organization. And there are a lot of programs like angklung. Angklung is international. It's an Indonesian traditional musical instrument from bamboo that you can play together. And we also play some show in the campus. And then also there's a sport. You can also cook and you can also explore the town. because it's very green, and you can also see some of the farms here while running, for example. That's also interesting for me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Nice. What do you think of Wageningen as a student town?
Well, it's actually really quiet town. So basically, if you really want to focus on your study, it's really, really nice. And then the city, I think the town is very crowded when it's the academic year in, you know, like when all the students are going to Wageningen, then the town will be super crowded. But after that, for example, like summer break or winter break, everything seems so quiet. So it's also nice for me.
Quiet and nice and green.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's move ahead, because of course, so we're jumping into the future a bit more. So imagine that you have been doing this master program and you graduated. What's up next? That's also kind of nice to know. So what can you do after finishing this program? You can decide either to go into research or to do a non-research related job. We have both options. Like students, some students are super interested in research. They're going to do try to get a PhD position somewhere. Other people are more interested in applying the knowledge that they gained into a company or other organization. So it really depends on your own interest. You can do both ways. For this master program specifically, there's a lot of international job opportunities. The field of aquaculture is quite big outside the Netherlands, and also sea and waters are everywhere. So that's interesting if you pursue an international career as well. I'll show you a few examples of our alumni. First of all, I'd like to start with Bastiaan. And Bastiaan did the major marine governance, and he works at a consultancy firm called Milieu. And what he does there is he basically works on a project at the moment and tries to figure out to what extent different members of the European Union have executed the first articles of Marine Strategy Framework Directive. So that is what he does, and he really likes to work with people with different backgrounds, and that is what he encounters in his current job. So a lot of people that have expertise on biology, but also people that work as an economist or a lawyer. We also have Elina, is also one of our alumni, and Elina did the major marine resources and ecology, and she currently works at Arcadis. She works as a marine ecologist, and what she basically does is impact assessment. So she tries to figure out what things that we as humans do to the natural environment. So for example, offshore building like wind farms or cables or platforms, how do they impact the ecosystems? And she feels that it's a perfect combination of science and practical in applications. We also have Mark, and Mark, he did the specialization aquaculture, and he currently works at a fish farm in Zambia, one of the biggest fish farms actually over there in Africa. And he works as a manager, so he manages people. I think he has like 250 employees or so. It's quite a big firm. And what he likes about his job is that every day it's a bit different. So one day he needs to dive, the other day he's in the lab conducting experiments, the other day he's doing calculations, and the other day he's managing people because he, in his function, is basically responsible for the lake that he's working on. So it's quite a broad range. I'm curious, we've encountered it a little bit already all in your presentation, but what do you want to do after finishing your master?
Well, I think I was born as a generalist, so I think my plan for the future is just to start my own farm. Being a farmer, I think will be the solution for food hunger. So I think I will be a farmer in the future.
What do you think you will like about it the most?
It's about, you can actually be free. You don't have a boss, so you can be yourself, and work as a farmer is, it's always interesting to make this connection between you and the fish and also the environment, and also you have to manage the social problems inside the farm and also how do you manage the business side? That's always interesting to learn. So
Yeah.
yes.
I can imagine it's a combination of so many things that come together.
It's social business, and also science. Everything is in there, so it's just a nice combination for me.
Thanks. I'm curious, are there also more questions from the chat?
Yes, it is. There are some questions as well. It's from, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly. It's Gijs L. Kausen. When do I have to decide which specialization I take? Or can I choose two specialization?
Good question. Yes, you can take 2 specializations if you want to. So if you are interested in 2 out of 3 options, you can do so. Probably means that your master takes a bit longer because you have to take a few more credits. So that's the implication. But yes, you can do so. And then you also do 2 theses. So you will be doing, for example, a thesis related to aquaculture and a thesis related to marine governance if you'd like to. So yes, you can combine it. And the other question was when you have to decide. So first you start out with a few common courses that everyone takes. And it also means that you have a few months to think about what you want to do, what specialization you want to do. So I always advise people to start thinking about that already in the beginning from the masters, but usually people will decide about like in 4 months or so. Mm-hmm. If you choose smartly, and you can consult that with your study advisor, and you're still in doubt, you can choose a few courses, and then you still are able to enroll in multiple specializations. So it kind of depends. But these kind of puzzles, I'm happy to figure out them with you together, because that's one of the things that you can ask my help for. Thanks.
Okay, there's also another question from Gianni.
Mm-hmm.
It's do you also have some company visit in the course or not? Or
I think I'll bounce back that question.
Okay.
Have you had company visits in your courses?
So far, what I got so far is the university invited a person from the company to learn something, for example, for nutrition. But because of now the issue that now we're facing and dealing with, the coronavirus thing, now everything have to be set up online at home. So we did not experience it this year.
Yeah.
So probably next year it will be, but not sure this year.
Yeah, these are a bit weird times, of course. So, understand. And I think there's also people from outside the university involved in, for example, the marine systems course. Where
Yes.
you take, where you go for a field excursion.
Yeah. In that course, I also went to what is it again?
The island.
The island.
Texel.
Yeah, Texel. I forgot the name. Yeah, we had to visit Texel and to analyze the potential and also the ecosystem there, because there are some aquaculture production there, and also there are some conservation sites that have to be really well managed, and you have to analyze whether is there any social issue there, because there's also the fishermen who have this big ship to get more fish, and then there's also this conservation site where people always want to protect their environment. But it's actually trying to find this balance to study there, to find the balance between conservation and production and how to fulfill the world hunger.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And getting back to the question, it also means that you have to talk to people from different organizations, institutes.
Even you have to talk to the fishermen. You have to talk to the people in the field, which is also interesting.
Yes. Yeah, you need them in order to solve these issues. Yes.
Exactly.
Thanks. Thank you. So, I also saw a lot of questions from you guys about admission requirements, which makes sense because it's nice to know that this master exists and what you will learn, but it's also nice if you know if you can get in or not. There's a few things that we take into account if you apply for this master program. First of all, it's a relevant bachelor degree. Relevant sounds a bit vague to you maybe, but we always check if you have sufficient knowledge on biology, statistics, and mathematics, because we think you need those things in order to be well prepared for this program. Sometimes it might be possible if you just don't, If you don't meet the requirements completely, it might be possible to do a pre-master program, and we can design that together with you. But it really depends on your previous knowledge if that's a possibility or not. We also take into account your GPA, and we ask you to have a GPA of 70% or higher. And we also take into account your English. So you have to fulfill a certain level, and all of these specific criteria can be found online. So I would really advise you, if you have any questions on this, to go to the website, go to the Wageningen University website, wur.eu/apply, and you find more information on that as well. And I also would like to invite you to, if you have doubts if you are admissible or not, just fill out the application, because then we have all the details that we need in order to see if you're applicable or not. So I just advise you to do the application online, and then you get back the result. And what I already said, I think, is that there's no downsides to that, in the sense that you're not bound to start. So if you are curious, if you can apply, or if you are admissible or not, just apply. And if you are admissible, you get that back from us, and then you can still decide to enroll or not enroll in the program. So it's up to you. Do we have more questions from the chat?
Yes, it's regarding to the scholarship. Is there any scholarship provided by the university, or is there any scholarship grant that is also have been in contact with the university, so that it's always nice, to tell?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yes, like there are scholarships. There is a website that you can see, a study in Holland, the Study in Holland website. It's an overview of scholarships, but I have to say that the amount of scholarships are limited. What I do see happening is that it's quite upcoming that a lot of local governments or national governments apply or arrange scholarships themselves. So if you want to see if there's a scholarship available to you, it might also depend on the country that you're from. So I would definitely advise you to specifically look into the options that are provided from your country. May I ask, are you here with the scholarship or not?
Yes, I am.
Which scholarship?
So it's the scholarship is called Stunet. It's for studieren in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's provided by the Kingdom of the Netherlands through the collaboration from Netherlands government with Indonesian government.
Okay.
So yes, I go here with the scholarship, with that scholarship, but that's specifically designed for Indonesian. So it might be a challenge for those who are not living in Indonesia or who are not from Indonesia, but there's always another opportunity as well.
And how did you find this scholarship? How did you know about it?
So everything, I think it's already stated online. So you can just easily look it up online on Google, scholarship in Netherlands. And then, the result is coming out and you can see whether you're qualified or not. Then if you are, then you can apply. That's it.
Yeah.
It's super easy now.
Nice. So this is a specific collaboration between Indonesia and Netherlands, but there might be a collaboration between the Netherlands and your country as well. So I will for sure advise you to check it out online. So I was referring to online already a few times. If you want to find more information, we of course have a website. I'm not going to read it out, but it's here in front of you. If you would Google for Wageningen and aquaculture and marine resource management, I think it's the first hit that you get. So there's a lot of information. So if you still have any questions after this presentation, you can check out the website. Could be that not all information that you want there to be is there, or that you still have any questions because they're for you specifically relevant. Please don't hesitate to contact us. You can send an email to mom@wur.nl, and then you get in touch with me or one of my colleagues. And maybe even more important, I think, if you want to know more about the student perspective, then you can specifically ask our student coach, because we also have a student who is answering emails about her experiences here as a Wageningen mom student. So you can send an email to studentcoachmom@wur.nl. So I guess that is it. I really want to thank you for watching this and for your really good questions. Thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to really wish you good luck with choosing your master. And I hope you will. I will see you soon in Wageningen. Thank you.